Welcome to biology, the scientific study of life. Biological and geochemical processes move nutrients between organic and inorganic parts of the ecosystem. Although most ecosystems receive an essential exhaustible influx of solar energy, chemical elements are available only in limited amounts. The meteorites that occasionally strike Earth are the only extraterrestrial source of new matter. Life on Earth therefore depends on the recycling of essential chemical elements. While an individual organism is alive, much of its chemical stock is rotated continuously as nutrients are assimilated with waste products released. Atoms present in the complex molecules of an organism when it dies are returned as similar compounds to the atmosphere, water, or soil by the action of decomposers. This decomposition replenishes the pools of inorganic nutrients that plants and autotrophs use to build new organic matter. Because nutrient circuits involve both biotic and abiotic components, they are also called biogeochemical cycles. Biogeochemical cycles. A general model of chemical cycling. A chemical specific route through a biogeochemical cycle varies with the particular element and the trophic structure of the ecosystem. We can, however, recognize two general categories of biogeochemical cycles: global and local gases from the carbon, oxygen, sulfur, and nitrogen occur in the atmosphere, and cycles of these elements are essentially global. For example, some of the carbon and oxygen atoms a plant acquires from air as CO2 may have been released into the atmosphere by the respiration of an organism is in a distant local. Other less mobile elements, including phosphorus, potassium, and calcium, generally cycle on a more localized scale, at least over the short-term. Soil is the main abiotic reservoir of these elements, which are absorbed by plant roots and eventually returned to the soil by decomposers, usually in the same vicinity. Before examining the details of individual cycles, let's look at a general model of nutrient cycling that includes the main reservoir of elements and the process that transfer elements between reservoirs, as shown in this figure. Each reservoir is defined by two characteristics: whether it contains organic or inorganic materials, and whether it or not the materials are directly available for use by organisms. The nutrients in living organisms themselves and in the detritus reservoir are available to other organisms when consumers feed and when detritivores consume non-living organic matter. Some material moved from the living organic reservoir to the fossilized organic reservoir long ago, when dead organisms were buried by sedimentation over millions of years, becoming coal, oil, or peat. Fossil fuels. Nutrients in this deposit cannot be assimilated directly. Inorganic materials, elements, and compounds that are dissolved in water or present in soil or air reservoir C, notice that, are available for use. Organisms assimilate materials from this reservoir directly and return the chemicals to it through the relatively rapid process of cellular respiration, excretion, and decomposition. Although organisms cannot directly tap into the inorganic elements tied up in rocks reservoir D, these nutrients may slowly become available through weathering and erosion. Similarly, unavailable organic materials move into the available reservoir of inorganic nutrients when fossil fuels are burned, releasing exhaust into the atmosphere. Tracing elements through particular biogeochemical cycles in such more complex, especially science ecosystems exchange elements with other ecosystems, even in a bond which has discrete boundaries. Dust or leaves blowing into the pond, and the emergence of aquatic insects can add or remove key nutrients. Keeping track of inflow and outflow is even more challenging, is less clearly delineated terrestrial ecosystems. Nevertheless, ecologists have worked out the scheme for chemical cycling in several ecosystems. Ecologists study chemical cycling by adding tiny amounts of radioactive isotopes to the elements that they want to track, or by following the movement of natural occurring stable non-radioactive isotopes through the various biotic and abiotic components of an ecosystem. Biogeochemical cycles. On the This figure provides a detailed look at the cycling of water, carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus. Diagrams focus on four important factors that ecologists consider as they research geochemical cycles. One, the biological importance of each chemical. Two, the forms in which each chemical is available or used by organisms. Three, the major repositories or reservoir of each chemical. For the key process that drive the movement of each chemical through its biogeochemical